Welcome investors. The FOMC committee decides not to raise interest rates and actually discusses cutting interest rates. Is the recession canceled? Is the soft landing here? We're going to discuss our take with some data. And make sure you stick around for the last clip of Fed Chief Jerome Powell, and he gives us his actual thoughts on the likelihood of a recession in 2024. Let's get into it. But before we do, if you find value from this video, be sure to like the video, subscribe to our channel so you could stay ahead of the curve with our weekly market videos. I'm your investment advisor representative, Jake Ackerman. Let's dive into it. All right, so the Fed meeting 2 days ago, again, decided not to raise interest rates, paused, and discussed what the evolving economic data has been that led into this decision. So let's start with Fed Chief Jerome Powell.
My colleagues and I remain squarely focused on our dual mandate to promote maximum employment and stable prices for the American people. As we approach the end of the year, it's natural to look back on the progress that has been made toward our dual mandate objectives. Inflation has eased from its highs, and this has come without a significant increase in unemployment. That's very good news. But inflation is still too high, ongoing progress in bringing it down is not assured, and the path forward is uncertain. As we look ahead to next year, I want to assure the American people that we're fully committed to returning inflation to our 2% goal. Restoring price stability is essential to achieve a sustained period of strong labor market conditions that benefit all.
Fed Chief Jerome Powell tried to play both sides of the coin, saying, hey, yeah, we are winning against inflation, that it is coming down. However, we will raise rates if we need to. So if energy prices tick back up, food prices, a geopolitical event that causes disruptions in the supply chain, or energy prices to go up, especially with like a Middle Eastern conflict, then they're willing to raise rates. But you can see the interest rate market reacting since he had that press conference where interest rates started coming down because interest rate market is going to be preemptive. Here's a great example. Interest rates are coming down right now and the Fed hasn't cut interest rates yet. It's just anticipating rate cuts. So you need to keep that in mind. The markets are going to be preemptive and not reactionary to what is going to take place. So the Fed is on the lines of defeating inflation at this point. Let's move on to Jerome Powell again.
Our actions have moved our policy rate well into restrictive territory, meaning that tight policy is putting downward pressure on economic activity and inflation, and the full effects of our tightening likely have not yet been felt.
This is a great one. He actually acknowledged for the first time that the rate hikes are really having consequences on the economy. Things are slowing down. The economy is slowing down. And when the economy is slowing down, it's bringing down inflation at the same time. And he also stated there that we have not felt the full ramifications from the interest rate hikes. We're going to continue to feel them long into 2024. So we need to sit tight and be aware that the consequences of the rate hikes are going to be felt sometime next year. So as investors, we need to keep this in mind that things aren't done yet.
While we believe that our policy rate is likely at or near its peak for this tightening cycle, the economy has surprised forecasters in many ways since the pandemic, and ongoing progress toward our 2% inflation objective is not assured. We are prepared to tighten policy further if appropriate. We're committed to achieving a stance of monetary policy that is sufficiently restrictive to bring inflation sustainably down to 2% over time, and to keeping policy restrictive until we're confident that inflation is on a path to that objective.
All right, so what is he telling us there? They are likely done hiking interest rates because of all the downward pressure bringing down inflation. However, they want inflation rate to be 2% year over year. And right now it's about 3%. So if something very unforeseen happened, geopolitical event, energy prices start shooting up, they're willing to raise rates if necessary. But at this point, they really don't see the necessity to keep raising interest rates because they are winning the battle against inflation, which is what they set out to do March 2022. So this last clip, we need to wrap this around our minds because Jerome Powell does give us some insights. I listened to the analysts, the news channels saying that this is a great news, everything's good, 2024, the recession's canceled, soft landing, we're all set to go. So listen to what Jerome Powell actually thinks as far as forecasting goes, and then we're going to give you some historical data afterwards.
At this point, can you confidently say that the economy has avoided a recession and isn't heading for one now? And if the answer is no, I'm curious about what you'd still be looking for.
I think you can say that there's little basis for thinking that the economy is in a recession now. I would say that. I think there's always a probability that there will be a recession in the next year, and it's a meaningful probability no matter what the economy is doing. So it's always a real possibility. The question is it? So it's a possibility here. I have always felt, since the beginning, that there was a possibility, because of the unusual situation, that the economy could cool off in a way that enabled inflation to come down without the kind of large job losses that have often been associated with high inflation and tightening cycles. So far, that's what we're seeing. That's what many forecasters on and off the committee are seeing. This result is not guaranteed. It is far too early to declare victory. And there are certainly risks. It's certainly possible that the economy will behave in an unexpected way. It has done that repeatedly through in the post-pandemic period. Nonetheless, where we are is we see the things that I mentioned.
I always enjoy the lawyer talk from the FOMC committee, Jerome Powell, where he's telling us that, hey, we can't forecast really if we're going to have a recession in 2024. And they're not going to tell the American public, the world, that, yeah, we're getting ready to head into a recession. We're not going to hear that. So as professional investors, as non-professional investors, just someone who has a 401k, someone who has an IRA, someone who has a small stock account or a small bond account or mutual funds, ETF, whatever your preference is, real estate investors, we need to be aware that we haven't felt the full ramifications from the rate hikes, the recession forecast. They're not going to give us that forecast. If they believe it was actually going to take place, they're not going to tell us. And right now, he says, at the beginning of that clip is, it doesn't look like we're in a recession right now. And I would agree with that, right? The consumers still have a little bit of credit left, and the government's spending like wild people. That's what they do. Government's just going to spend. The consumer is where when the consumer stops spending altogether, that's when we're going to see the damage done, because it's going to affect private businesses, not public businesses, because government can control those things. So we're starting to see that in the private sector, right? We're seeing in the data. That's why the Fed is talking about cutting interest rates right now. And then he also says, hey, right now everything is great. There isn't job losses. Unemployment isn't going up. And if you look through a history of recessions, prior to recession, the job market is strong. Take a quick look and we'll go through this. All right, let's take a look at this recession chart. So the magenta color coming vertically is recessions. The teal color is unemployment. Unemployment going down prior to the recession, and then starts to tick up right before the recession. Again, ticks up. 1990, the same deal goes down, shoots up right before the recession and into the recession. Same deal with the dot-com bubble. 2008, 2009, same story, 2020, and here we are today. The unemployment is starting to tick up. So we base our investments on probabilities, right? Take for housing, for example. Through history, it's a very sustained, maybe moderately conservative market if you're buying single-family homes. You can make that investment, you make that purchase thinking, the odds are in my favor that I'm going to make a little bit of money, that I'm going to have an asset that appreciates, I'm going to get rental income. That's the highest probability. That's why people go and buy them. Another example would be, and the vice versa, would be, I'm going to buy a stock option. Roughly 70% of stock options expire worthless. That means the purchaser of the stock option only has a 30% chance to win their investment. And now there's rules and technicals that can change the odds a little bit, but just buying and selling stock options, there's a 70% probability if I'm the buyer, I'm going to lose. But that's why there's a lot of reward. That's why that 30% of people that make money can make a lot of money. Don't always necessarily take place. So we're putting the odds in our favor. So what are the odds through a rate-raising campaign, a big one like we're experiencing right now, that it doesn't lead to a recession? That's what we need to ask ourselves. So let's take a quick historical look of rate-raising campaigns that, what are they followed by? Is it a recession? Is it no recession? What are the odds? All right, we're going to start July 26, 1954. Rate-raising campaign, followed by a recession. Rate-raising campaign, recession. Didn't get one in 67. Rate-raising campaign, pause, recession. Rate-raising campaign, recession. Again, we see it all through the 80s, rate raises followed by a recession. Didn't see one in 85, 84. Rate-raising campaign and recession. 94, more rate-raising campaign, dot-com bubble, recession. 2007-8, recession. 2020, recession. Here we are today. 2 out of 12 rate-raising campaigns didn't lead to a recession. And we are in a very large rate-raising campaign right now where we're starting to see the economy slow down, which is what the Fed wants. So do we avoid a recession? What are the odds telling us? We'll navigate you through this. Stick around. Expertise you deserve, experience you can count on.